Let's be honest, it doesn't matter if you have 100 horsepower or 1,000 horsepower. If you don't have tires, you are going nowhere fast as a drifter. That's where Zeknova comes in. With their broad range of tires available for all horsepower ranges and skill levels, you want to be able to get on board with them to make sure that your drift day is not only fun, but smoky as it should be. From the Supersport RS, the RS 606, and the Mac Daddy JR 500, Zeknova has a tire offering to be able to make sure that you get the proper size and compound for your build. Make sure to use promo code TheDirtDrop for 10% off when checking out at their website, www.ZeknovaUS.com, and make sure to check them out Facebook and Instagram, ZeknovaUS. What's going on, everybody? Chris DeBoard here with another episode of the Dirt Drop podcast. My guest today is somebody who I have been trying to get on since December of last year when this podcast was first starting. Not only is he a sponsor of this podcast, but he is also a sponsor of the Toolworks Racing program. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I am talking about Mr. Luis Lanz. What is going on, brother?
What's up, man? How's everybody doing?
Dude, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. I know we're recording middle of the workday for most people, but like you and me, we get this in when we can, right?
We got to do it. We got to do it when we can.
I hear that. So I know a good bit of information about you, but I want you to be able to tell the viewers, who is Luis and how did he get started in this great sport of drifting?
Well, I'm pretty much a motorsports enthusiast since I was born. And ever since I got my hands behind the wheel of a little, play car, it's what I've been wanting to do my whole life. So yeah, started with road racing, actually autocross, started autocrossing, then moved my way up to circuit days, like road racing, track days. And now I ended up in drifting. So wishing I could drive more of different things, but drifting is pretty much my whole life now.
Well, one thing that's really unique about you as a driver is this wasn't all done on American soil, right? You've driven in other countries and obviously in other motorsports. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I grew up in the United States because we moved here when I was 11, 12. But I have had the opportunity to drive in other countries like Japan, Brazil. And it's so funny because it's so different, the culture and the people. But at the same time, I feel like even with the locals, it's like the same passion that unites us. And that's pretty awesome to see like the completely different people be passionate about the same thing as you are.
What would you say is probably like the biggest difference and then the biggest similarity in some of these countries, not any country specific?
I would say the accessibility that we have here in the United States. We're very spoiled, I can say. Whereas in other countries, obviously you don't have the availability of parts. Basically nowadays, anything that you need, you go online and you buy it and you have it in your door in a couple of days. Over there, it's like it doesn't exist. You either, if you don't have the money to be able to afford it from the United States, you got to figure it out. So, the recycling of parts really amazes me on how they have a system and it works. And it's funny because the cars last even longer. Like if you say, a lot of people mention this like about Japan and Ebisu,
oh my goodness,
it has like a dome of saving that nothing, no matter what you do to that car, it's gonna keep going. The moment you take that car out of Japan, it's like but yeah, it's pretty, and I think it comes back to being like OEM parts are really reliable, right? Like it's whenever you keep something stock, it'll last.
No, and I mean, these manufacturers spend millions and millions of dollars developing, anything from a power steering pump to, a head gasket that's OEM versus some of these aftermarket stuff, especially obviously, you enjoy the LS stuff like I do. I mean, there's a reason you put AC Delco filters and, a lot of these stock style parts because they're just that good from the factory, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm pretty sure the engineers were not thinking about how bad we were going to be on these things, drifting and whatnot. But still, dude, it's something that that man, like if you can handle it on the track, it'll last forever on the street as long as you take care of it, you know.
You mentioned the grassroots drivers, especially over in Japan and Abisu. Reusing the parts and essentially just like an old hunter gatherer, scavenging every nut bolt off of that thing to be able to be used on the next chassis. Do you think that's something you still see with a lot of grassroots drivers here in America? Or, would you think maybe they would just rather go for, hey, here's the 25 grand for a pre-built C6 to go rip?
Um, in a way, we do see it. You know, we see a lot of swaps and like motor swaps that are simple or are cheaper. I guess the only thing is like here, people are more conscious on time. You know, like it's most people that drift have a job that generates some kind of income, right? So I think for the most part, uh, they kind of see it like, okay, look, I could either work on getting this done, but if it's too cheap, it's not worth it because I make, I don't know, $30 an hour and it's cheaper for me to just work and buy it. So, you know, that accessibility that we basically here in the United States, money is time and time is money. Sometimes it's just cheaper to get, you know, a part and than trying to savage or figure something out like that.
Like you said, with the accessibility that we kind of take for granted sometimes. I mean, it really is just that easy. But I mean, the grassroots thing is definitely something we obviously know you appreciate. But you are a Formula Drift Pro Spec driver now. Can you kind of talk us how you elevated into that I guess position based on your experience in other motorsports and obviously drifting?
Yeah, so originally, this was not my goal 4 years ago, 3 years ago. It was something so out of reach and I was doing my basically my racing and instructing, and I started doing drifting just kind of like for fun, do something different that could help my racing skills. One thing basically led to another, and I started drifting a little bit more. I started meeting people in the industry, and you know how the drifting community is, right? Super supportive. They will tell you you're the best driver in the world every single time, even though you might not be. But hey, that's us.
Yep.
um, and yeah, so I was doing the racing, and one of the guys that I have to mention that he really helped me or pushed me to make the switch was Duarte from Drift HQ. Um, you know, he really believed in me more than I believed in myself, you know. And he's actually one of the guys that the reason that I went to my first Pro-Am competition, um, and, you know, with the same push and which we ended up winning. I wasn't even trying to actually compete in Pro-Am, but that was really an eye-opening opener for me when we actually went to Pro-Am and we did real well. And I'll always remember he actually went to a race that I was doing for NASA. Um, and I think it was after that competition, he basically said, dude, like, what are you doing here? There's nobody here. Usually racing events, like you don't see the crowds that you see on drift events. And that was one of the things, like, you know, the same thing that you're doing here on drifting, it'll be much better for sponsors. And just growing as a driver. And he was 100% right. It's racing has way too many options, right? You have hundreds of organizations, hundreds of ways that you can race. You go NASA, SCCA, IMSA. And different cars and different things. Where drifting,
Classes too. I mean, you
it's
put
a
one
class.
modification on, you're jumped into a whole different class.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas in drifting, it's grassroots and pro-am and FD. That's it.
Yep.
It's basically, even though there's different organizations, it still falls in within the same range essentially. um so yeah, that's pretty much it. I When I did that pro-am that we won, a couple guys from pro-am was pushing me to like, hey, next year let's go full blast and try to win this thing so you can get your pro license. I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot, but you know, I don't know, it's hard, you know, like winning one, we got lucky, like we can't win a whole championship. But yeah, another guy was Henry from like Drift Gang here in
Hmm?
South Florida. He also was one of the main guys that pushed me, and if it wasn't for them, I really wouldn't have gone for the championship, I would still be racing, and yeah.
Well, I mean, any regrets? I mean, sticking with drifting and letting the road race stuff take a back seat.
Not at all. The only
Okay.
thing is like so there was one year, I think 22, 23, I was trying to do both. And
Whoa.
yeah,
Whoa.
I don't know what got into my head thinking that I was gonna be able to do that. But it was one of the things when I was drifting, I miss racing, and when I was racing, I miss drifting. Nowadays, since I've been only drifting for quite some time, I still miss it. But it's different things, I enjoy it, and do I wish that I could be doing both? Definitely, 100%. But the drifting community and everything that comes with it is definitely special. So I'm happy to be here.
Speaking of the drifting community, being in Florida, you have a very similar opportunity like Southern Californians to where your drift season is almost 365. So
Yeah,
seat time is almost unlimited. Am I right?
yeah. The only limit to it is your pockets, right? Yeah, dude, we're really lucky in Florida that basically there's no winter. We can drive whenever we want to. The worst thing could be it's just like the rain season, but that's even better because you save money on tires. So, and just overall. The only thing that sucks where I live, I live a little bit further south. It's just like it takes really long to get out of Florida. So within season, going up north it's a challenge. But we drive through it.
Yeah, that's part of this the sport to be able to drive 14 plus hours and you do one lap and then you get put on the trailer because it broke and then you just have to go home sometimes, right? That's just how it is.
Yeah, dude, that's the worst. And it's one of those things that um I gotta mention Freddie from Spectrum. He's told me this multiple times. It's like, dude, you're spending 5-10 grand to be somewhere on a weekend of drifting. Do not cheap out on parts. It's like, do the maintenance, put new stuff. It's gonna be one of those that you'll regret it if you don't do it. And 100%, you do spend more money, but you don't get those, or at least it happens less than you want. Uh, those times where something breaks and you can't continue. I got my fair share of drift weeks and whatnot, so I can definitely know for a fact. When you do a drift week, no matter how many parts you have and how well maintenance you have your car, something's got to give that you weren't prepared for.
Yeah. So for the viewers, he's talking about Drift Week hosted by Aaron Losey from Lone Star Drift. It's essentially drifting's version of Sick Week or Drag Week, to where you have to drive your car on the street with either a trailer or all the stuff inside your vehicle. You can have a support vehicle, and it's 7 to 14 days depending on the area. But he does it in sections of the country, and I think it's a great opportunity for people not just to understand the stresses of some grassroots drifting pressures, but also to be able to have the opportunity to drive with individuals like yourself or YouTubers or someone to where they are just having this digital presence. But then it's like, oh crap, that's Luis. Oh, that's Grant Anderson and stuff like that. What do you think is one of the biggest things Drift Week taught you? Just because it's that big glob of everything at one time.
I think Drift Week taught me to that I can actually not sleep for 3 days straight, and something that I've never done before in my life.
Can you give us some
No,
context of how did that happen?
it's just like drifting, dude. It's
Yeah.
okay. So the first Drift Week that we did was, I think, from Arizona all the way to Florida. It was Drift Week 2.
Okay. Yeah. Those are good. Yeah.
And so one okay, so like one of I mean it's been a while. It's been like 4 years, but I remember I was on the Corvette, which I had recently built, but I've driven it to a few events by then. And on one of the tracks, my slave cylinder gave out. And in Corvettes, when slave cylinders happen, that's, even though I had a Tilton and everything, but rookie mistake. Oh, so that's one thing that Drift Week taught me. Always set your clutch pedal stop. That's like on Corvettes, you have to. So when that basically happened, dude, it was like you have the time slots that you have this time you're gonna be on this track, and once it's done, everybody drives. And as much as people want to stay back, you're still in drift week. You don't want to like stay back.
It's like
So we
Top
had
Gear when
to,
they have to leave people and they just go on to the next thing.
yeah, yeah. So luckily Duarte helped me out, and he got me a slave cylinder overnighted to
What?
I was in Louisiana, and we're like at 7 a.m. like because we left that same day, so we're like waiting for that part to come in. The car torn apart, so like just waiting for the slave cylinder. As soon as it came in, put it on and finish up and head out. It kind of sucks because I couldn't drive that track at all, because it happened as soon as we got there. And I
Oh,
remember I was like, all right, I'll just put it on second gear and I'll do a few laps and I won't shift. So that's how I drove that track for a couple of laps. But yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun, man. And I kind of been on the verge every time they announce a new drift week that I want to do it, but at the same time I'll be like, impossible, I can't do it right now. Like it's just so much work, and taking those couple of weeks out, it's nowadays it would be impossible.
well, because outside of everything else that you just talked about, you're doing, you do run one of the most important companies when it comes to drifting, ZeknovaUS.
Yeah, Seknova, it's been something that we took on last year. It's been like a year and 2 months since we took on, and it's been pretty awesome to be able to see things from a different perspective rather than just the driver perspective. Um, it's so much that goes on the back end, and the stress, and basically pricing, tariffs, like logistics. It's a lot that I took for granted before I started doing this. But I'm glad that I'm in this position that I can try to help as much as possible. Keeping prices down was my original idea when I jumped on board, and it was the plan of action that I have throughout the year. Unfortunately, we had these hits with the tariffs and whatnot that really set us back, not just us as Segnova, but basically all of drifting overall. It's being, if anybody is keeping track, if you see the prices of things that are now and you look 6 months ago, it's definitely changing, and it sucks, but
Yeah.
hopefully there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm definitely doing my best to try to keep and mitigate those costs as much as possible.
Well, with pricing and everything aside, I mean, you really have a huge, in my opinion, an advantage because you, with the anatomy of a tire, you kind of get a little bit more peek behind the curtain than some of these other drivers in the series. I mean, obviously the top guys are a little bit tighter with some of their tire sponsors, but you're allowed to learn things about the tire that gives you, I would think, more of a competitive advantage. Would you agree?
Yes, definitely, especially when I get feedback from all of my customers. And when I say all of my customers, I mean like anybody has access to me on my Instagram, and most people have my cell phone or whatnot. So it's a good and a bad thing at the same time. I
Who
do
you
get those
telling?
guys like, dude, I need tires for tomorrow because there's this event. I'm like, oh my god. It's like, um, and drifters, right? We tend to procrastinate as much as anybody. So it's a very common thing that usually when he started doing this, my wife helps me out a lot. We'll be like, nobody's bought tires in a while. It's like, wait till I mean Thursday and Friday, you'll see. And bro,
Yeah.
just like that, it's insane. Like everybody just waits until last minute.
Brother, I'm at
Uh,
Olive Garden right now with the family, and the event is in 12 hours. What is your
yeah,
problem?
yeah. um, but it is what it is, and that's why it was a learning curve at the beginning. Now we are already waiting for it, and we try to make those posts of send your orders in, so we're not rushing, and we make sure that you get your tires by your event date and whatnot. But
Well,
yeah,
and you're
same thing. I get a lot of driver questions of like, oh, what PSI to run, what my setup is, this and that, and it's really interesting of, even though you watch YouTube and Instagram and you follow the drivers that usually give you their setups and tell you what they drive and whatnot on their channels, um it's still the range of different drivers throughout the country is different, and it's crazy to see how different it is. For example, people are driving Florida or South California, and then you see like North, Mid, and USA Air. It's like it's completely different drivers and different styles. Uh, and I've learned so much of the different styles because when I started drifting, it was just like Florida boy and then competition drifting. That's basically all I did. But it's really cool to see the different ways and people that, some guys don't want to compete. Some guys just want to have fun and bang doors with their boys or, um, and that's cool. It's one of those things that I enjoy doing that on the sim,
Yeah.
Whether you've got a drift car, a show car, a jacked up truck, or just a really nice daily, there's always one way you can make it have that next level of style. Throw some underglow on that bad boy. Be able to make sure that you use not just any product, but glow towed products. Why is that? Well, they come with pre terminated connectors and lines, which means no crimping, soldering, or wiring involved other than hooking up to the battery. That's right, this is not your granddaddy's LED kit. They use 3M adhesive strips. They have all the mounting hardware to be able to use on multiple surfaces, detailed instructions, and a bunch of different freebies included in every order. Now, how do you save some money? You go to their website, www.glow-toad.com, and at checkout, make sure to use promo code THEDIRTDROP to be able to save 10% off your next order. To be able to see more of their work online, check them out on Instagram at Glowtoad Lighting.
Getting the slow cars and just try to run a perfect lap right next to each other. But yeah, it's definitely pretty awesome to experience.
Well, and the nice thing too is, I mean, obviously all the Zeknova tires are for competition or track use only, but you don't have just this one tire. You have a pretty decent spread of offering a tire for all drivers. I mean, you make the Super Sport SS and a 15 for Miata drivers to be able to have
Yeah,
that.
dude. Yeah, there's a few the super sports and the R4s. We have them on 15s for Miatas, and there's a couple of Honda guys that get them as well for drag racing. They've been using them. Which is pretty awesome.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And Segnova is really even though we're not bringing them tires in as road use, they can be used for road tires. It's just like that's not my main customer base. The people that know me is through drifting, and most of the drivers that get the tires right now are for drifting. But it is one of my goals. I do want to have the tires on the street because they are an amazing tire, and we can have them. It's just a matter of setting up a different way of uh, bringing the tires, and it's completely different when it's for motorsports use to streetable. But yeah, we have the Grand Tour, which is an amazing track tire. I've never drifted on them.
Isn't that like a 140 treadwear?
There's a 140 and there's a 240 threadwear.
Okay, okay.
They're very soft, but the sidewall is still hard. I don't know. I do have a set there that I have on my C5 race car that I've only done like one event on it on road racing. That I was like, I want to put these on the drift car and see how they do. But at the same time, it's kind of like it's a more expensive tire, so I'm sure it'll do well. But at the same time, you have the cost option on drifting that it kind of upsets the balance of things.
Right. And I mean, like you were talking about accessibility, like even though people are trying to get directly in touch with you, like not everything is coming out of South Florida. You've got major distribution hubs in other cities as well.
Yeah, we got you, for example. um, so one of the things too when I started this is I know that there are drivers out there and just like me that we enjoy doing this and we have the accessibility and the availability to be able to offer these tires or any service really. But there are some guys that have the opportunity to make a little money on the side and serve the community. So most of our distribution centers is basically guys just like me, that we want to be involved in this and be a part of something. And yeah, so because of that, so we have Tom, which is like badass friend that became friends from drifting and thanks to Segnova. And so we have the Vegas warehouse, Denver, Texas warehouse, Chicago, and then Tampa. And obviously, I have stuff here in South Florida in my own shop.
Right.
But it's not really a distribution center unless there's like somebody in Florida between Tampa and here that, okay, I'll send it to them. I do keep full stock down here, basically most for my friends and myself. Um, but it's really not necessarily a hub, even though sometimes it feels like one.
I mean, when people hit you up, like you were saying, you kind of just become a homie, but then also a businessman, but then also, where am I going to find that middle ground, right?
Yeah, it's a little tough, really. And there's other people involved, obviously, because running this is by myself would be basically impossible. There's no way. But definitely learning a lot. I had never been distributing tires before. From what people say, apparently we're doing an okay job. So I hope that I can continue doing this, as long as I can.
Well, unfortunately, the first iteration of Zeknova in the U.S. was not exactly taken too well, and it didn't end on good terms with a lot of people.
Yeah. For those that don't know, there is a podcast that I did as soon as I took over Zeknova, basically explaining everything that happened. But long story short, the guy that was like me, having the distribution rights to Zeknova in the US, basically scammed a bunch of people, myself included. I think I took the biggest hit from that, but it's in the past, and I think people have moved on from it. I haven't really heard anybody else mention or ask. And surprisingly, a lot of people still don't know that even really happened. So it is what it is. I took it as a learning experience, and glad it happened because it allowed me the opportunity to be where I'm at today.
Absolutely. No, I mean, and you, like you said, just over a year, and the brand has done this arc to where, I mean, it's part of the major conversation against Kenda and Accelera and all these other brands that have been around for years and years and years. I mean, that's got to be something you got to be proud of.
Definitely. It definitely blew my expectations. I did not think that it was possible to scale it this fast. We've obviously, me and the team, we've put a lot of work into it, and we're really, even with all the hits that we've got, because tariffs and whatnot, it's been um, a very good job done by everybody, and I think even with the other brands, they recognize us now. It's something that um, it's from drivers to drivers, so it's really, I feel that connection. I think it's one of the reasons why people feel that connection, that it's not just another big company that's trying to make money. It's basically this guy that's trying to drift and at the same time bring tires in. So we have that connection with the drivers, that definitely a lot of people like to have that. They want to be able to, oh, there's a problem with my order, I can just call the guy real quick and see what's up.
Absolutely.
Not just like, oh, you got to email and wait to see what happens. But it's, we are able to do that because it's a small operation now. But I understand why other companies, that's why it happens. Eventually, if this grows to be something massive, and it'll be impossible for me to be able to cater to everybody, right? Like I'll definitely have to be 24/7, weekends and whatnot. And it's one of those disconnects that you companies have to have. But yeah, while I'm here, guys, I'll do my best to answer as fast as possible, and I'm also always browsing and seeing the comments and what people say about the tires and things, because it's one of the ways that I feel we can grow as a company. How can we make the tire better? How can we make the distribution and the speed and pricing, and there are things, even though you try to think as much as possible from everything, there will always be something that happens that nobody thought of. And like uh it, for some reason, I don't know why FedEx and UPS sometimes they deliver all the tires except one, It's like, I don't know. It doesn't matter if you order
Don't even get me
4,
started.
8, 10, 20. You will get 5 or 7 or 9. And the next one will come the next day. Sometimes even 2 days later, bro, for some reason.
Yeah.
I think it might be a conglomerate from UPS and FedEx drivers are like, guys, whenever you're gonna deliver tires, just leave one in the back. Like, don't take all of them. But yeah, it's funny because that's like I actually have to make that an FAQ on the website. Like,
hmm
I got all my tires except one. It's like it's the weirdest thing. I don't understand.
Yeah, it's not like Luis is like holding like, oh no, you're only gonna get 9, and then we're
Yeah,
shipping one tomorrow.
yeah,
I mean, flip side of that though, that's a nice thing because it's not your company's fault. So I mean, the biggest issue is a third party issue, really.
yeah. I mean, but at the end of the day, this is something that I'm gonna have to blame Amazon for. You know, we have been very uh spoiled, you know, ever since Amazon came on to take over the markets. Everybody expects everything to be like 2 days, and now that it's funny because now Amazon is changing back. They're like the way that it kind of should be because it's kind of impossible for companies to have stuff in your door in 2 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are spoiled. And 5 years ago, well, I don't know if it's, I don't know, man. I feel like COVID is like a big major event that everybody thinks of.
Yeah.
And ever since that happened, it's just like things are different now. It's a new world.
Yeah, I mean, it really changed how a lot of businesses not only did business like internally, but just how like accessibility, like you were talking about, being able to get somebody on the phone or being able to get answers in a timely manner. I mean, I think that some companies talk that as an ability to be able to step back and just say, hey, COVID happened and we just haven't recovered yet, you know, but hard chargers such as yourself, I mean, you've got to give 150% up front. You just got to find that limit of, okay, I need to scale back or I'm going to die. And it's just, you know, family time is still a thing. I know you're a family man, you know, being able to have that outside of drifting is important, that work life balance. Can you share with us, though, one major goal for ZeknovaUS in the next 12 months? I know you've got a lot, but what's one that's really sticking out to you that you would like to achieve?
More accessibility for more drivers. I think that's really, you know, having the tire, like somebody to try the tire. I think that's it. That's a new customer. As soon as I've been lucky enough that I haven't heard a bad comment about any of the tires that we have, and it's the main reason that I got involved with Teknova. Like the first time I drove on the tire, I'm like, this is it. Like this is what's been missing from my life, my whole, you know, like my drifting life. This is what's been missing. And then I thought to myself, like, they're amazing drift tires, and that's it. Like we'll just use them for drifting until I was able to use them for track, and I see the same performance, and the cost per lap is just amazing. And I'm so glad that I'm part of it, and we can try to continue to grow. So yeah, for that, your question is accessibility. I really want, because the main thing that kills the price on the tires is shipping. You know, shipping really, like, it's extremely expensive to ship a tire. So being able to have hubs closer to people, closer to tracks, that's really our main goal, and it's something that I'm constantly working on and seeing ways that we can make that happen. Luckily, we have dealers like you that allow us for that to happen, and you are helping people get tires at a lower price. And same way that you do it, that's why I do it. And eventually, I feel like if we continue to grow this the same way that we've been doing it, from drivers to drivers, I feel it'll be the way that for the company to move on. I don't want a company to have shareholders and get hubs, and that's not really why I'm doing this. I really want everybody to be on the tire because, you know, we're part of a family.
No, I agree with that too. And I hate to say it, guys, selling tires is not going to make you the next Elon Musk or Donald Trump. I make a couple of bucks per tire. I mean, you've seen the profit modeling that I do. I mean, it literally is just something to be able to make sure accessibility is there. And yes, I make a couple of dollars for my time. Tire education. The nice thing about social media, I know you read all the comments, even if you don't comment. I know you're in there on all those sites and stuff like that. What's one thing about tire education that's different now versus when you started drifting?
So one thing that I tried, it's on the website, and I try to tell as many drivers as possible. Or hardest tire, the Super Sport. It's a very grippy tire still, even though it's a 300 tread wear. And so essentially, you can't really drive this tire on the same alignment that you've been driving a harder tire. You could, however, that will decrease the amount of laps that you get out of it. So since it's a grippier, it's a softer tire. It means it's grippier. So regardless if you go to zero toe, you're still gonna grip more than any other tire that's harder, right? But you're saving more wear essentially. So I think
Right.
that's like the biggest thing that I try to tell as many people as possible. If you're switching to ZeknovaUS and you're testing ZeknovaUS, zero out your toe, mechanical grip, make it as, as loose as possible, because you are getting that extra grip. And you can tweak later on, but most of the guys I tell them, like, look, drive that thing as if you wanted to slide it all over the place. The tire's gonna take care of you, and if you feel like you need a little bit more, then you can add later on. Another thing is high pressures, like high psi, more than 40 psi. It brings a lot of heat to the tires, and obviously you would think that they will wear not as fast if you're at a high psi, but it's on the contrary. The heat makes the rubber way softer, and you get less laps.
Absolutely. No, and consistency between brands is one thing that a lot of experience and obviously the pro guys swear by. So, I mean, sharing my personal experience, like when I built my comp car, I went through 5 different brands of competition tires before choosing Zeknova. And it was really frustrating to be switching between a brand every year and then having to change the car based on how that tire cooperated. And then just having an event or two of just getting used to that tire. And when you're starting out, you pick whatever you can out of the junkyard just to be able to get laps on. But what would you say is the biggest importance of sticking to a tire if you're really trying to be able to go from that grassroots comp pro am to pro spec level?
Yeah, definitely consistency. That's that's something that I think everybody makes a mistake when they start. When I started driving, I'll never forget this. I would drive them like the cheapest tire that I could find. I even went to clutch kickers to comp. And it's funny because I bought one pair of Achilles 123Ss for the whole
Oh,
comp. So I'm like,
oh.
practice was with like cheap, slow tires, and like, okay, I'm gonna put the 123Ss right now for qualifying, so I'm ready for my competitions. Like, bro, it's like, the dumbest things that, and people do it. It's dumb
Mhm.
for us that we've been doing it for quite some time, but for people that are starting out, it's not that obvious.
Right.
And it's a lot of things that you have to learn when you start drifting. It's, you can't blame them for not knowing this, but at the same time, try to explain. Luckily, I'm in the position that whenever somebody's placing an order of a bunch of different tires, like we've had guys that they order like 4 Super Sports, 4 RS 606s, 2 JR 500s. Like, hold up, let me call this guy, because like, sure, you want to test different tires to see what fits best for you, but sometimes, like, with a cog, be like, okay, what are you trying to do? Like, what do you want for? And I can guide them more or less, like, oh, like, do this or do that. And it's something that we don't price the tires based on like what we want to make the most money on. We make the same profit margin on all of them. So essentially, I don't care which tire you buy, really, regardless of everything that we have. Um, as long as I can tell you and teach you of like what you gotta run, 100%. That's the way to go. That's a new thing that I learned right now with the JR 500s. They last so long, dude. Like, it's
Really?
ridiculous. Yes, it's something that I did not understand for the amount of grip that they have. And when I started distributing the tires, I kind of like set them aside because of how expensive they were. And you didn't hear much of them because I wasn't trying to push them. I wasn't trying to have people drive on them. Obviously, more expensive means I have to spend more money to bring them, which is, for those of you who don't know, when you import a container, it's 2 months after you pay for the tires that you have to wait for them to get here. So obviously, if you're paying an extra 40-50% for a tire, that adds up. So liquidity is a big factor regardless.
Right.
I wasn't trying to get somebody to buy the expensive tires, but again, not that I'm trying to push them, but they do last on a competition setting. You can actually get 2 battles out of a JR 500, whereas in normally you grip up your car for a super sport that you get maybe a battle and a half, but you can't keep running that same tire. You got to switch. So even though it's a more expensive tire, instead of taking 20 tires to a competition as you would with like a super sport or a RS606, you can actually take 10. So you're
Wow.
on mounting tires, you save money on having extra wheels. Overall, it's a big savings. And one time that I couldn't believe it. It was on the Pro-Am that I did, round 1 Pro-Am for USDC.
hmm
That was at Leadfoot City in Tampa. And I used for practice 1 warm-up, seating bracket, warm-up number 2, and the whole competition. I actually won the competition, 6 tires.
No
All I
way.
used the whole weekend. Probably over, I don't know, we were getting like 14 laps out of a set. And when I took them out, they still had about 10% left that I gave them away, and people took them because they, for free.
Rough.
So yeah, scrubs that will still last like long. So it's one of those things that it's a lot more expensive, but you save money in the long run.
The wheels on the bus go round and round, and your drift car should do the same. Let's be honest, there are so many wheel companies out there. It is definitely hard to choose from. But if you want fair pricing, great customer service, and a super quality product, look no further than Stage Wheels. Out of Richmond, Virginia, Stage offers 4 different wheel styles in multiple offsets, bolt patterns, and sizes to fit your application. Even better, use promo code TheDirtDrop for 10% off at checkout at www.stagewheelsna.com to be able to save on your next order. Also, be sure to check them out on Facebook and Instagram, Stage Wheels.
Yeah, if you guys go to the website, look at the JR500. The first time I saw it, it looked like a Hoosier drag radial. I mean,
Yeah.
it had 2 lines and then some stuff on the sides, but I mean, it's a meaty tire.
Yeah, at SEMA we'll get so many people coming by the car and seeing the JRs, and they're like, "Oh, so you guys sell drag radials?" Like, technically, that is a drift tire. It's like drifting. Like, most people don't, especially at SEMA, you get a lot of you don't understand.
Right.
But yeah, it does look like Mickey Thompson. That's really what it looks like. But it's probably the best. Not because I sell them, but it's the freaking best tire I've ever driven on. It's just insane.
I may have to put a couple on the next order now that you're getting me a little curious to see. I can do some side by side stuff. I got some higher horsepower guys that I think will be able to appreciate that too. But no, the proof is in the pudding that tire education is like one of the biggest things. I remember Odie did a feel like kind of a shock university, like a day 1 seminar. Is that something that maybe you'd be interested in doing, like a webinar on tire education to kind of help people have like a little resource that they wouldn't have otherwise?
That's actually a pretty good idea. I think it's definitely something that we can do. Time permitting. That's always the main thing. But if I get some time, it'll be great to same track, same car, same. Different tires and timing, GPS. Basically, throw everything at it, see what the difference is, and I think my computer went to. Okay, I think it was trying to.
I got you. We're still good.
All right, we're sure. Yeah, that's definitely a really good idea. It's something that we should look into doing.
Yeah, I mean, drifters, yeah, tires are probably the biggest consumable when you're first starting out in the grassroots thing, but understanding that, going through 12 junk tires versus maybe 4 really nice tires, and then having a better time just because, you can rely on something and trust it, especially like the K walls or whatever in there. It's important to spend your money wisely when you're first starting out.
Yeah, if you're not competing, and it's something that I did. If you're not competing and you're switching tires or wheels every 2 laps, it's not worth it. Like, the amount of money that I spent on time mounting tires, or when you can't mount them yourself and you have to pay the tire machine to get them mounted. Yeah, I wish I would have learned that earlier.
Well, you don't just drive competitions, obviously. You also do Fun Fence. I know you were at Fuel Fest a couple of months ago. Can you kind of talk about how, like, maybe from competition, like being very, stringent and aware of your tire wear versus an exhibition like that, of how that mentality changes?
Yeah, Fuel Fest is amazing, man. It's so many people go to watch, and I feel like it's the start of a season for us, and it's the best way because um you get, or at least me, I'm in South Florida, and I have a pretty big fan base in like the Spanish community, so they all get to go and see the car and interact, and wanting to get in the car and go for a ride along. So it's funny that I set up the cars for a Fuel Fest just like that, like zero toe, like the softest ever. And the thing is, your foot is always also a way that you can like save on tires. So since when we go to Fuel Fest, we try to do this most ride-alongs as possible. We did 40 laps. So
What?
yeah, we basically go for a lap, and I don't throw much angle. It kind of sucks for the outside, like it doesn't look as cool as if you're, banging and tons of smoke, tons of angle. But it's the only way that we can do it, so we save a lot of tires, because going and changing tires, that's less ride-alongs that you can give. Um, so yeah, set up the car super loose, about 25-30 psi. That was like what felt the best
Not
for
bad,
us.
yeah.
And yeah, dude, my foot was like barely on the gas, just sliding enough to get that lap around, and it was great. The only time that I would really get on the gas was like when the tires were completely gone. So it was like, all right, yeah, like last lap, let's go. We're crab walking because it's not going anywhere. It's already on 6. But it gets for those really cool pictures of like the sparks on the back, since it's already metal on metal on the ground. But yeah, dude, Fuel Fest it's a lot of fun. Fans are the best, and the amount of people that go is it's amazing.
Well, your C6 is definitely no slouch. I mean, it's got a filter sticking out of the hood that I know you can barely see behind, and your
Birthday
roll
cake.
cage is, dude, your roll cage. I saw it at FD New Jersey, and I was like, how? How does he? It's like a jungle gym in there, truly. But you didn't start in that car. What was your first drift car when you decided to make that change into drifting?
First drift car was a 370Z. That was the
Okay.
first thing that I got. And that was probably the best starting drift car you could ever have. That thing only needed gas and oil, bro. It was insane. It was just like, I actually drove that car for Drift Week 3, and the amount of, because it was not just me, I also had Michael to drive with me. And dude, it was just like few laps, come in, the other guy would take it for laps, come in, fuel out, fuel, tires out. It was insane, and that car just took it like a champ. The only thing they had to do to that car was which broke the first couple of months that I got it from drifting. Internal slave, you can take it out, have the external. Ever since then, bro, it was. I regret selling that car. It was just such a seat time car. It was amazing.
I mean, they're good on power. You've got the HR in there. You've got great suspension setup. Now, when you were talking about modifications, did you throw the whole suspension book catalog at it and power this, or did you scale your mods with your skill?
No, when I started, I was watching a lot of Aaron from Lone Star, and he had recently built a 370 or something like that. So he'll always be one of the guys that would tell you, like, no power adders, like no angle, drive this thing until you really are driving it and controlling it. So that's basically what I followed. Coming from a racing background, basically it's the same thing as well. I know that stock cars are reliable, and I don't want to be wrenching. I hate wrenching. So I only do unless I absolutely necessarily have to. But yeah, dude, it was one of those things that car didn't touch anything. I probably did about 10 events, stock angle.
Wow.
Stock car. The only thing that I did to that car was weld the differential because it was open as soon as I got it. And yeah, tons of laps. I was like, until I don't feel comfortable linking the whole event, this track, I'm not, moving up. And that's basically what happened. The first time that I did, it was probably like a 3-hour, 4-hour event at PBIR on the go-kart track, and probably did over 40 laps because it was basically empty and I was linking and not messing up. So okay, I think I'm ready for the white lap.
Now, when you did scale up to those modifications, I mean, what kind of educational tools did you use? Because it's not like you can just click buy on, YSFAB, FDF, PBM, and know everything. Like, what resources did you use to get that to do its job?
I used the WiseFat manual.
Okay. God forbid we read the manual.
I basically follow the instructions on how to install it. I did my first, I think it was, no, that wasn't even WiseFat. It was like the rear dual caliper when I got the Hydro. And I got that like the dual caliper from Drift HQ, and I had to like cut some stuff. I don't remember exactly, but I remember it was like 3 a.m. and I was like grinding on the damn thing. But yeah, I just followed the instructions for WiseFab, put it on, took it to alignment shop, and told him like, look, just do what it says here on the WiseFab instructions. Those are the alignment settings that I want to run. Because the other thing, when I started drifting, I didn't know anybody in the industry.
Really?
Yeah, like nobody whatsoever. I literally found out because I was an instructor at PBIR for like Hooked on Driving, I think, or it was the HPD, multiple organizations that I was instruct with, and I had never seen a drift event. Mind you, I was on the track almost every weekend, but I had never seen or heard about drift events in South Florida. It was like it's completely different world. Like it's like non-existent. I only knew about drifting from Tokyo Drift, and sometimes I was in Formula Drift, but I was not really involved in it or had any idea about it. I knew I loved drifting in the sense of whenever my tires were gone in my race car, the last lap it'll be a drift lap because they were gone, So that was my drifting.
What year was this?
This was 2019 is when I started drifting.
Okay.
2019.
Wow.
Yeah, right before COVID happened. And the whole reason that I got in is because I used to have a Subaru and I was in a Subaru club. My friend John, it's like JJ Blackbird on Instagram. He was on that club as well. He used to own a Subaru. Things, we moved on and we kind of like lost contact, but I still had him on Instagram. And then I would see him make posts like drifting, like the warehouse drifting. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, it's really cool. This guy's drifting. That's awesome. And then I see that he posted about PBR, an event at PBR, which is a local racetrack to us about an hour ago from the same track that I would go almost every weekend to instruct. And I'm like, I had no idea that there were drift events at this track. So I reached out. I'm like, dude, like, how you drift in the truck? Like, what is this? So he sent me the link to like US Drift Circuit website where you can sign up, and I saw that there was an event like in a month, and I'm like, I guess I'm buying a car that I can drift. It's like, so I started searching for. I started researching like what car should I get. I saw John had a 350Z, so I was looking for 350Zs, and then this 370Z ended up offer up that I saw really cheap. Like there must be something wrong with it. Because it was like cheaper than 350Zs, and that on 2019
Wow.
that was not a thing.
No.
So I go to see the car, test drive it, everything perfect, and like there's gotta be something. So I asked the guy, I was like, all right, I'll buy it. Let me see. Let me see the title because the guy said that it's clean. So I go see the title, and even though it was a clean title, it was a re-VIN car, which that's why it's this cheap. So when I went on the door, there was a VIN reassignment, and the original VIN in the engine bay was like scratched off. So I was like, oh, man, this is weird. Dude. Luckily, I had a friend on DMV, and I gave him a call, and like he searched it up, and he's like, "Yeah, dude, jump on it, because that's the reason nobody buys it." Everybody thinks that there's something wrong or it's like stolen or whatnot. But I searched up, and yeah, it was a car that was stolen. The owner recuperated it, and you have to do a VIN reassignment because there's no VIN on the car, so it's
Right.
completely legal. You might have trouble selling it later on, but oh, dude, I'm drifting this thing. It doesn't matter. It was so cheap. It was like, um, had like 70,000 miles. It was like fresh mint. Like it was when I started drifting on that car, but it was looking at me like I was crazy. Like, look at this guy with a
First
brand
drift
new
car, super clean.
yeah. It's like I know it's clean, but dude, it was cheap. Yeah. So that's how basically I got into my first drift event.
I mean, and the history is there, but I really do find it to show like it's crazy. So 5-6 years really of drifting, pandemic included. So like, I mean, obviously there was some losses there. I mean, that's a pretty quick rise to already because you're second year of prospect this year.
Yeah. Second year prospect. Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 years for get your FD license, and then now you're no longer a rookie. You're running stuff through it. I mean, this is a quick come up. This is not normal, I would think, in the drifting community.
I would say that I'm obsessed with stuff, and like when I go into something, I really go into stuff. Also, I have been driving since 20 years. Like road racing and drifting was just a little more of a skill to learn. I'm not gonna say that it's just easy, but I have a lot of experience driving all these years. That it was just it was simpler for me to learn, car dynamics and control. It was just now I could do on purpose the thing that I was trying not to do in the past.
Yeah, that does bring me to that next question. What are some of the things from these other disciplines that maybe helped you, I would say, get drifting faster, so to speak?
I think the amount of laps. I probably have because so the reason that I became an instructor was you don't pay for track time when you're an instructor on track days. So I was on the track almost every weekend, and hundreds, I probably have thousands of laps of hours on laps, and it's things that you are going to lose control sometimes when you're trying to go for that extra second or that extra limit. And at first you're going to spin out, and then you start learning to control the car, and then little by little sometimes you even try to do a little bit on those hairpins to bring the tail around. So it's essentially the same thing, but now you're doing it on purpose. So I think that might be one of the reasons. Apart from sim racing, I have like, oh man, I race so much.
I guess, well, then seat time is truly the key, whether it be behind the wheel of an HPDE car, a drift car, a sim car. People seem to understand that now as much as we kind of beat that in their head. It's seat time, seat time, seat time.
Yeah,
When you
100%.
talk about being an instructor, I know there's a couple of schools out there that you got Drift University, you've got Reese Marin up in Pennsylvania, you've got East Coast Drift School. You see these drift schools popping up. I know that it takes a lot of certification to be a NASA or SCCA instructor. Really, no certification to be a drift school instructor because I guess of how our sport is ran. Do you think that's a good or bad thing when it talks to people being drifting instructors, so to speak?
So there's two things. There's drifting instructors, and then there's racing instructors or HPD instructors, better yet, and then there's coaches, like racing coaches. For example, NASA, SCCA, all the HPDE series. The main thing that you're there for as an instructor is to keep the new guys safe. Which I believe is the main reason as of why you are required an instructor whenever you go to your first HPDE event. Basically because it's a lot more dangerous. You're going at way faster speeds. Usually drifting, when you're starting out, it might be on a skid pad. There's really no walls around. You're not trying to get close to the wall. You're just trying to learn car control. Whereas in HPDE, you're going fast, and a lot of times, since there's so many new things when you're going on track for the first time, you're not aware of your surrounding because you're driving with other people on track. So it's more of an educational thing as to, let's keep you on the road, away from any walls, away from any other drivers, because you really don't need an instructor after you are comfortable. Because the first guy, when they get there, their adrenaline's pumping. They're scared. They think they're gonna kill themselves. They're gonna crash their car. That's literally I've had guys that were like
Wow.
white, like dude, if you're not having fun, why are you doing this? But I completely understand, and that's the whole thing for as an instructor, that you want them to be there and start enjoying it. It's once they get those few laps in, it's like, okay, we ease out, all being tense on the wheel, like waiting for this. Like, look, you're here to cruise. Let's get a few laps. If you feel comfortable, you start going a little bit faster. If not, we're good. And I've had guys like that we just cruise for half an hour. Like they weren't comfortable going any faster, and that's okay. But you got to give it to them that they're there on the track trying to learn their car better, trying to understand the car dynamics and everything that they can do with their actual car, especially the guys with supercars. You see so many Ferrari drivers on the street that they're just driving on the street. Whenever I will see one guy show up to the track with their Ferrari, I'm like, okay, hats up to you, sir, because this is where that car should be. And yeah, so we are not, as an instructor, you're not really there to make them faster. You're
Right.
more there to help them get around the track. And some guys would ask you. That's one thing that I learned to do as well. It's like, don't give them any fast advice. Just if they ask for it, yes, but just be there and see what how they're driving, see how they're doing, and the amount of things that you learn being on the passenger seat. It's like it adds on to your driving time essentially, even though you're not driving, but you're looking at things from a different perspective. You're starting to think, look what he's doing. Like he should not be there, but it seems to be a little bit faster. So it's things that I will pick up on how they were doing, and I'll try to do it myself or try not to do that because I knew that this guy was doing it and it was definitely not working. So it's amazing, an amazing experience that I was able to do that for so long. That I don't think you really need a certification for drift school at the same time, because you're just teaching people how to drift and basics, and there's not really a safety factor basically. Whereas in here, you do need a certification because you gotta know um, just everything, track surroundings, like things that people should and shouldn't do, overall track lingo. It just adds up that yes, you should be certified because it shouldn't be like let's go as fast as we can and see what we can do with this thing as an instructor. That's not really what you're really there for.
Look, it doesn't matter if it's your first drift day ever or you've been drifting for almost 2 decades like me. Safety better be one of your top priorities when you're hitting the track, and Velocity USA has you covered. Based out of North Carolina, they literally have you taken care of from head to toe with regards to safety equipment, whether it be helmets, Hans device, custom made race suits, gloves, shoes, undergarments, everything to be able to make you FIA and SFI certified, as well as also having teen and children's safety equipment. You need crew apparel? They can take care of you too with their custom made crew logo shirts for both adults and children. Check them out at velocita-usa.com or on social media at Velocity USA on Facebook and Instagram. And make sure to use promo code TDD10 at checkout on their website to save 10% off on all Velocita branded products.
Well, and again, hats off to all the people that do run these drift organizations that I mentioned, because I respect them highly, because they are run by people who have the experience in the community as well as other disciplines. It's just whenever you see a new drift program or drift school and stuff like that, it's always like, all right, well, how long have you been drifting? What else have you been doing and that kind of stuff? And I don't want to water down a product we're still so new, and people get less respect for it, because we also are battling the takeover community. And I know in Florida, that's something that you mentioned drifting. To someone who doesn't know anything about drifting, it's very, very difficult, or very possible, that they can associate you with that. What are some of your experiences when it comes to having those conversations?
I haven't really had anything that would direct drifting to takeovers. A lot of people sometimes ask me, "Oh, what do you do?" And like, I drift, and it's like, so I just pull up a video on Instagram and show them like this is it. I say, "Oh, okay, that's cool. Like I've seen that." And for the most part, it's kind of like it's funny because it's like there's people that they've never seen it before. Like it's the first time seeing a car drift. It's the weirdest thing. It's like I thought it was more common.
We are kind of in a bubble, because I mean, once you get immersed in the world of drifting, it's very easy to be like, "Oh, this is amazing! Yeah, I know he drifts. I know this drift. I know this drift company, and all this kind of stuff, and all the social media platforms to it." I think social media is doing a really good job with some of these organizations, like USDC, US Drift up here, the Drift Appalachia, and pushing drifting in a different way, and trying to use the algorithm. What's one way that you like it being portrayed on social media? What's way that you don't like drifting being portrayed on social media?
Honestly, I think all throughout it's really good. Definitely there is ways that we can reach out those different audiences that are not involved, and I think that should be our something that we have to do. So one of the reasons that I started my YouTube channel to be in Spanish and my TikTok is in Spanish is
Absolutely.
what else am I gonna bring into the community of there's thousands of guys just like me doing the same thing. But in the Spanish world, nobody's really doing it. And it's been pretty awesome seeing the amount of support that I've been getting for my home country. My following on TikTok and YouTube, it's basically 50 or 60% off from there. And I
Wow.
feel like it's brand new people that are getting, brought into the sport. And one thing that one of the guys texted me is like, dude, you're the first Venezuelan drifter. Like, it's like
I
out of the
mean,
whole country, you're the only one doing it. And then I thought about that. I'm like, dude, that's insane. Like, how is that like possible? And it's true, in Venezuela there is barely any drifting whatsoever. There are no drifting organizations. There is like three guys that are grassroots drifting on like completely stock cars. So you have a whole country that you can bring this awesome sport to and from, and it's what it needs to keep growing, right? It's you need to be able to bring this to the whole world. So I felt that that could be what I can do for the community, bring people in from other areas that have no other way of bringing in. Um, and I think that's something that everybody should think about. What is something that you have or that you can do for your area or your community that you can bring in those spectators? Because those spectators will become enthusiasts, and some of those are going to become drivers. And now with the accessibility of sim driving, that could be the next pro level sim kit. You know, it's that's all it takes. It's not that expensive to get into sim drifting.
Right.
So and it's something that helps us. If the more drifting around there is, I believe it's just gonna help everybody in the community.
Yeah, one of the racetracks up here, they obviously host Drift Events US Drift, but we've been focusing on linking with a group called 804 Meets, and they're a very large car show group in the Richmond, Virginia area. So every time we have a drift event at Richmond Raceway, we always also have a car show. And the drivers can practice in the morning, and then when the gates open for car show people, you've got these individuals. And I mean, the Hispanic community is very, very big down here. So if you're not bilingual or predominantly be able to speak Spanish, that language barrier, trying to like get guys in the car for ride-alongs and stuff like that, you can see they're excited, but it's trying to find that way to relate is definitely something that people don't think about.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like we've been stealing so many kids from um car shows.
Yes,
Like
yes.
whenever there's a car, drifting in, throwing a car show, and all those guys were gonna start wanting to drift. It's like, it's because it's funner. Not to talk bad about car shows. I used to do it all the time when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But once you start driving, it's like, why would I stand around talking and looking at the cars when we could be watching them or be driving them? It's definitely a perfect way to bring in people.
Right. You mentioned obviously being the first Venezuelan drifter, and obviously hats off to you. Brazil, they've got João, they've got Diego, and I think a big thing that contributed to kind of drifting's push in the last 5 years was Netflix's Hyperdrive. You had Sarah Harrow, you had the husband and wife from Eastern Europe on there. I mean, Fielding Shredder. I mean, the American Texas boy out there. I don't know if you watched the show, but just being able to show how much drifting was appreciated by non-drifters. And I mean, it was really cool to see the sport kind of, oh crap, these guys could actually drive, but also drift.
I am so mad that there wasn't a second season.
Yes.
Like,
Oh my
as much
God.
as
Thank you.
you could talk whatever you want to say about it, but it was entertaining. I watched the whole thing. I binge watched the whole thing, and yes, it was amazing seeing everything that was happening, and it's so funny because they grabbed drivers that weren't really, they weren't the top of the top. They didn't get any Formula Drift drivers. They didn't get. It was very. I think it was well put and well thought of. It's sad that it didn't continue on. But somebody might bring it back. It's definitely that type of competition. I always said that I will build a car for a hyperdrive type of competition. It's not really a drift car. You drift with it, but you also need it to be fast, and you need to be able to hit the specific zones or whatnot. So yeah, dude, I think we need another hyperdrive, man.
Absolutely. Somebody with money needs to go back to Netflix and be like, look, we've got
Yes.
10 to 15 new drivers. We've got a new location. Or go international with it. Go to South America. Go to Europe. I mean, the drifting since then has grown up. DMEC is massive. D1NZ is crazy. IDC is still going. All these organizations have grown. The driving skill, I mean, 1,000 horsepower is now the basic number to be able to get on these guys running a 305, 200 treadwear.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking obviously, being part of this I would say discipline for the last 6 years. What's the one thing that really blows you away as the progression of from when you started to win to now that's been like, holy crap, this is huge. This is a huge step.
I think just the overall business program side of it. You know, when I started doing this, it was just for fun and a hobby, and now it's my 9 to 6. I wish it's more like my 12 to
Yeah.
12, like the whole day.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, dude, you're selling it
Yeah.
short.
Yeah, but it's not just, the driving. Driving is like 5% of the time, really. It's if it wasn't for drifting, I mean for sim, that I do more, it would be, like that's the least amount of thing that you do. The rest is building the car,
Right.
finding funds to be able to run this, the program, the team. It's so extremely important. Like it's something that no FD driver can do what they do without their team. It's
Absolutely.
and it's not something that you can. Oh, let me just go on LinkedIn and look for a Formula Drift team to hire this guy. I need a crew chief. No, dude, it's something that you have to be in the industry. You have to know people, make friendships, and reach out and see who you can click on, because you could have the best. There could be someone that's the best crew chief in the world, but if it doesn't click, if he doesn't believe in you, it won't happen. You have to believe in them as your crew chief, and they have to be believing you as a driver, because if not, they're gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna fix this car and I'm gonna have all this stuff, but I know he's gonna mess it up on the first lap and we're gonna be packing going home. So imagine how hard that is, that there's really barely any money involved, that you could be like, let me hire the best of the best. Everybody's there because of the passion for the sport, and
Right.
I think it's the most amazing thing in the community, really. Like everybody's there to try to help somebody succeed and their team succeed because of the passion that you feel for it.
That's also one of the things I want to bring up. So we met in person for the first time at PRI, which was is a show in Indianapolis. It's a trade show for I'd say auto enthusiasts, but mainly for motorsports, race parts, race organizations, track owners, and that kind of stuff. And it really is truly the business side, where SEMA is the shock and awe, the social media, the party, the glitz and glamour. I think there's some things to where if you go to both, there's something for that. But for people who are looking to take this more seriously, because I suggest a PRI to everyone who's trying to make that business jump. What would be some of your words of encouragement to those people?
Well, it's sad to say, but I'm gonna have to say the same thing as everybody else is saying. But social media, it is what it is. You have to have social media nowadays. It no longer matters if you're winning races or competitions left and right. If you don't have the right social media approach, it's going to be extremely difficult for you. You have to be business oriented, have a plan, a business plan. Obviously, money conscious, because you could throw everything out in the first 6 months and then be completely out and kill your
Absolutely.
career just because you didn't know how to properly budgetize your program. As much as we want this to grow as fast as possible, you have to take it in steps and trying to see what works and what not. But yeah, it's definitely, you have to see it as a business. If you're planning on going the next step and moving up and compete, and it's the only way that you can be successful and stay in it. Otherwise, you could probably kill your whole budget in less than a year and not be able to come back the next year.
Well, and not just that, when you start talking about some of these bigger sponsor obligations and, building a sponsorship deck and, okay, hey, we're going to give you 15 grand for this year and stuff like that, but you also have to do ABC. And you don't do that. I mean, there's going to be some companies that want their money back, or you're going to have to get a really good lawyer. And it's that thing that I think some of these drivers who, like you said, it's 5% driving. You need to either, if you're not conscious, get someone on your team who is the program director or the team manager or something in that aspect. Would you agree on that?
Yeah. Just like a business, if you find the right person for it, by all means. But like everything, it depends on who wants it more, right? Like if you have a business, you always see this. No one in a business is gonna work more or harder than the owner itself, right? Like
Absolutely.
that's just how it is. So I'm not saying that your crew chief might not do right, but finding somebody that's gonna put as much or more effort than you yourself that wants to do it, it's extremely difficult. So at the same time, you have to learn how to delegate, but you can't just be like, yeah, I think Sam is pretty good at doing driver decks. Let's just let him do it, and I'll just forward an email to people. It's like, no, dude. Like, if you're on a team, like, sure, you can have him do it, and then see what works best. Research, ask people. Anybody that asks me about driver decks, I send them mine. Like it's not the best, I don't think, but I
It's
try.
very, very, very bold of you. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I know a lot of drivers usually keep that stuff super close to. I mean, the one thing is gate kept that everyone tells me about is their okay. They've got a deck for this. They got but this is my other deck that I do for this. And I'm just like, I just it's that next level. And where do you want to go with your program?
Yeah. I also know that there are some driver decks out there that are not the real driver deck that they're being used.
Now you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah. Hey, it is what it is. I mean, you can still take it and learn from it, and it's a good example to follow. Ultimately, I feel like you have to go with what you have that somebody else doesn't, and know which companies you can approach by that.
That's fair. Probably, I guess, getting ready to wrap things up. I want to talk about being able to give advice from your perspective. What's one actually before I do that, what's one thing about the grassroots drifting scene that you want to see happen, say, in the next 3 to 5 years that you would hope to kind of help grow the sport?
Honestly, I really want drifting to grow just so there's more money flowing in for professional drifting and grassroots.
Right.
If it continues to grow, there's going to be more companies willing to spend money on it. You will see more grassroots drivers getting more sponsors and be able to afford more things. I find it mind-blowing that right now a high-end professional drift driver it still needs to have some kind of job or income to be able to sustain himself or his family. Um, I personally believe that in any industry, a professional should only concentrate on being a professional in that field. Practice every day for 3-4 hours. Hit the gym so you're properly fit for your events or your driving abilities. When you drive on the car for 2 hours straight at 100 plus degrees, that takes a toll on your body. And if it's something that I tell people a lot, if you are not physically fit, it will not help your brain function properly to drive the way you want to drive. As much as you think you are or you can, it definitely takes a toll on you. And if you can withstand this temperature and your heartbeat, it's funny because I have a heartbeat monitor whenever I'm driving,
Really?
and yeah, it's 100% something that I think everybody should use. So for example, New Jersey, my normal calorie burn on my day to day, it's like 2,500 calories. On whenever I do a drift competition or a drift event, it's like a whole day. I burn 4,000 calories. That's 1,500 more. My standard heart rate goes up to 120, 125. That's whereas in my normal day to day, it's like 60.
Wait, so
So
your resting heart rate is in the 120s at a drift event?
yes, that's like right. It's
That's like a
or in
constant,
other,
like a little
so it's
constant bike on a standardized bike, right? I mean, that's
exactly.
yeah,
That's how you burn like so much more. So it's not a constant 120. Obviously, you have ups and lows, but on average, it's about 120 throughout the whole day. And even though it's something, because I'm like, man, am I like getting stressed or am I getting pumped with adrenaline? I personally don't feel that when I drive anymore. You know, when you first get your jitters that
yeah,
you're gonna go for this lap, it doesn't happen. But being in that high temperature with your helmet on, you know, your body sweating and sweating and sweating, that's extra pumping. It's definitely something that you might not think about, but it's there, and your body gets tired. And if you're not training for it, you are gonna be handicapped. If you know the say the least. So it's one of those things I feel like professional drifters should be able to dedicate their whole day-to-day life to get better at the sport. Even though if you're seeing pro level drifting now, it's freaking insane compared to like 2 years ago.
God.
um, and I'm pretty sure the top guys, that's what they're doing. If they can't afford it, it's just a normal day to day, just like a Formula One driver. You know, all
Yeah.
they do is train on the same, train in the gym, read, understand, get better. That's if we want to get to that level, that's where we gotta do.
Absolutely. No, that's probably the first time I've heard that because again, offhand, out of the three out of Formula Drift US, I think only maybe two, maybe three are full-time 100% paid drivers, we'll call them, that don't have to have either a job or a company where they work at to, be a fixture at. Yeah, no, geez, that's incredible. So leading up to that, final thoughts. What is one piece of advice that you would give the newest grassroots driver at his first trip event?
Obviously seat time. That's one that it's there's no better advice that you can get. But one thing that I learned throughout the years, or mainly when I got to Formula Drift, was quality over quantity. So when you get to Formula Drift on your practice, you only get 4 laps, 4, 5, 6 laps. Last round we did get a lot, which is weird. We did get like 10, 12 laps, but still, that's not a lot, right?
Right.
When I was drifting, I was like, I would just get on track and seat time, seat time, seat time, seat time. But one thing that I learned is that if you go for a lap and you try to gather all the information that you can from that lap, if you have somebody recording you from the outside, if you have your own inside camera that you can pull from, and you rewatch those and go through it on your head, it's like, okay, I did this, I shouldn't do that. This is that. You can cut your amount of driving to get to where you want to be way faster, because the next lap that you go out for, you're already on your head like, okay, I need on this zone, I have to do this, and that. Whereas if you're just doing laps after laps after laps, you're like, you'll make one mistake and then you go for your other laps like, damn, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Like it's
Yeah.
so eventually you are gonna fix that, but you're gonna take a lot more laps to fix those. So and it all comes down to,
isolating the lap, being able to isolate
yeah,
it to where you can pick things like do this again, fix this. That way, kind of compartmentalize the lap.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's something that last year in Atlanta, our first ever Formula Drift event, dude, that was horrible. I only got like 3 laps on the wet. And when I went to my competition, it was like, how am I supposed to drive this properly? Like, but then I understood and I learned, like, okay, this is what I gotta do. I gotta go through those each lap. So now whenever I'm on FD and I'm on sitting waiting to go again, I'm just reviewing my lap over and over, over and over. Personally, I'm not the smartest one in the bunch, so I need a lot of repetition to get something on my through my head. But I think regardless of how smart you are, if you do quantity over quality, it's definitely going to help you and save you money.
That makes sense. No, I think everything considered, if you're able to have that focus and the ability to kind of concentrate, it's going to always pay off in the end. So I'd love to give you a chance to be able to shout out not just your social media, but your sponsors, some of your partners you're working with, anyone that you want to be able to give some recognition to.
Definitely. Let me pull up my list here real quick.
He's got a list. I cannot miss any one of them.
Look, I'm gonna tell you a little backside. So there's this. Sometimes I meet with like possible sponsors. There's been events that I've talked to, and there has been a couple of them that mentioned some drivers that we can't say about. Man, this guy got on the podium and they didn't even mention us, and we're like the title sponsor. We're up there, so it's one of those like, okay, I'm like, whenever something happens with me, I'm like, let me just pull up my list real quick, make sure like I'm naming everybody. But no, dude,
Compartmentalize the interview. Okay, now we're in this. Now I need to talk about all my sponsors.
yeah. Dude, Zeknova, obviously, it's been amazing. OMP, it's a company that I didn't want to be with anybody else but OMP just because it goes back. I'm a huge Ayrton Senna fan, and OMP was his sponsor, and so I saw myself like, if I'm not wearing the same things that Senna was wearing, like I'm not doing it right. And just like the products, it's amazing. Motegi, the wheels, Drift HQ is being, without them, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. FDF, Josiah keeps building things for the vets. Super thankful. Link ECU, that's, amazing companies that are there and keep bringing products to drifters. Anti-gravity battery, my car will not be as light if it wasn't for their gravity for their batteries. Granatelli Motorsports, are running it makes the car look so nice with those blue coil packs in the front. I love it. And wow, the guys that wrap my car, it's
beautiful car.
Did an amazing job, and I couldn't be more happier. And I'm so glad that we did the digital camo, dude. It's like we can hit the car and just put tape on it, and it looks like it's part of it.
We'll just add another square. We just different square.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. How can we find you on social media and your company?
Luis Lanz. If you search up Luis Lanz on any TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, we're there. And obviously Zeknova, same way. We're all there.
Fantastic. Well, again, brother, I'm really excited we had this. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I know trying to get our schedules together was really tough, but again, I really appreciate you taking the time out for this. For those of you that don't remember, I am at Debo the Comic on Instagram, Chris DeBoard on Facebook, and you have watched another episode of The Dirt Drop. Make sure to tune in next time. We will see you there.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
And we're done, and that's it.